Hey guys, Gun Goober here. Today we're taking a look at a Glock 19x with some custom slide work done by the Glock store. This is what it comes with. And you can see it comes with the Acro as well. You'll see why later. But that is very low. Let's compare it to a standard MOS. So if you look at this normal MOS slide, you can see just how much taller. So you can see they're really able to sink it down quite a bit lower. The nice thing is that you can use regular height sights. Whereas if you're using the MOS cut, you're going to have to use these suppressor height sights. Let me see if I can get it to focus properly. Yeah, there you go. So these are much bigger, much more in the way, much more of a snag hazard than the traditional sights that come. This is a Glock 19x, so it comes with the metal front and rear. They're night sights, and the front one has a white circle. I'm most likely going to swap these sights out for just blacked out ones because I use these kind of pistols to shoot with night vision. And if you have tritium sights with night vision before, you'll know that it's extremely difficult to see them because they blur really largely, and it's impossible to use them to aim in at night with night vision. All right, so let's take the Acro off and take a look at what they did underneath. So having a lot of these Acros to compare against, the hardware that they're using seems a little bit beefier than the traditional Acro screw, although it might just be a generational change that they're making. I also noticed that this part here is black, and on some of the other FDE Acros, this is also painted FDE. So I'm going to dump that off. And we can take it off. So as you can see, this is how low they were able to get it. And this is the part on the Acro that they had to mill in order to get it to be that low, because they can't relieve this part here, or else you'll be going into the striker channel, I'm guessing, or whatever internal guts of the pistol are right below this metal. But this is going to mean that this Acro is going to go with this slide forever, pretty much. Well, you could use this Acro on other things, but only this Acro is going to fit on this slide. It's really the slide that's proprietary to this Acro. All right, so let's get that back on. It's important to push forward while you're tightening. And there we go, it's back on. You can see it's really down there in the meat of the slide. So the slide itself is supporting the front and the back of it, which is really helpful because under recoil, these red dots on these slides go through a lot of force. And you don't want them just relying on little screw heads to keep them in. I'm sure we've all seen the videos of people getting hit in the face with their pistol dots because they broke off and flew away under recoil. The rest of the stuff here is just what comes with a normal Glock 19. You get the 2 extended magazines and the 1 flush fit one that comes inside the pistol. Some of the potential upgrades that I was thinking for this pistol were to go with a Nomad replacement lower the frame. I was really hoping that this frame would allow me to have a more 1911 grip angle. However, it does not. The grip angle is basically exactly the same as the original Glock. It might be a little slightly bit closer to 1911, but it really just ends up in a weird middle ground where you're not really getting used to either one. So I will say that I'm kind of disappointed in this frame so far. I've still got to give it a chance and use it for a little bit while longer, but my first impressions are meh. I didn't have any functionality issues, so everything is great. It's just a personal preference thing for me. The original Glock frame is pretty good, especially the Gen 5 one. I thought originally that I wasn't going to be a fan of the hump in the back here, but there's an option on the Nomad to get rid of it. I put it back on because I actually do like the way that it kind of locks my hand up in there, and I find it more difficult to hang onto the pistol if there's no hump here because it kind of tapers down and feels like it's sliding away under recoil. So I think I'm going to try to make it work with the original frame here. However, the Glock frame does have a little bit left to be desired with the undercut. So typically you might see some people doing stuff like this, where you go at it with the Dremel and you get rid of this little surface here. That's basically, this is right here what causes a Glock knuckle, where you can see on people's hands, like you'll see like here, where like the skin basically forms a callus because of where this will rub on you. And if you remove some of the material here and round it over, that reduces it a lot and also allows you to grip up higher on the frame, which is really convenient and comfortable. Another upgrade that I'm considering is probably going to be the Timney trigger. So this is the Agency Arms AOM, their optic mount, their frame mounted optic system. I have the Timney trigger in here. This is a gun that I've used for competitions, and it's really nice. But the one downside is that you can't use the striker control device. The striker control device is this thing on the back of the... I've already installed it here. You'll see when I start to pull the trigger, the back plate lifts up a little bit. And if you put your thumb over it, you can actually stop the trigger from moving. But as you pull the trigger, that comes out and then goes in. And this is just another safety feature that you can use if you're going to be concealed carrying this. You can put your thumb over it, kind of like you would put your thumb over the hammer of a double action gun. And that way, especially if you're carrying appendix or something, you don't accidentally get a piece of your shirt or something tucked in there into the trigger guard and send around where you don't want to send around. But the Timney trigger is not compatible with that because the Timney trigger basically turns the Glock trigger into a full cock trigger, which means that that initial travel of the trigger doesn't actually pull back anything up here in the slide to push against that striker control device. So I'd have to use this traditional backplate. Since I'm not going to be planning on using this gun for concealed carry, then that's probably fine. I'll take the better trigger. And I'm also going to install these extended controls. So this is an extended slide lock and an extended takedown lever from the Glock store onto this gun. Let me know if you guys want to see another video on the Agency Arms AOM Glock 19 here. That's pretty much it for the Glock store Acro cut. Again, the main selling point is that it's extremely low. And also the rear iron sights are forward of the optic, which is something new to me. I've never had an optic where all the iron sights were in front. And it's pretty convenient. It makes it feel more like your red dot is the primary sighting system on the weapon and that the iron sights are really just there as a backup. And I think that that feeling will be enhanced even more once I install the blacked out iron sights. You can order these from the Glock store as a complete gun like I did here, or you can send your gun that is not an MOS cut, so it can't already have the MOS plates, into the Glock store, and they'll do the cut for you. The price seems a little bit high on the complete package here, but if you just go out and bought a standard Acro P2 and a Glock 19X, you would be about 80% of the cost anyways, leaving about 20% of the cost for the slide milling that they do, and also the milling that they do to the Acro. And due to that, I think that if whether or not you already have a Glock and you send it in, or if you buy the complete package like it is here, you're probably going to get a good value, even though it might seem a little bit high at first. So I did end up modifying the original 19X frame. I took out the lanyard loop, which you just simply push that button through the hole back here and pull down and it comes out. I radiused the trigger guard here so that my finger could get up a little bit higher and you don't get as much of the Glock knuckle from it. And lastly, I removed this little tab here. You can still see it on the other Glock 19X, this little hump here. The only thing that does, I don't know why they added it, but all it does is make it so that you can't insert Gen 5 Glock magazines. So after removing it, now this frame will accept the Gen 5 Glock magazines because they have a little bit further, their base plate is a little bit farther forward, so it would have impacted onto that area. The only other thing that I might do is I might bevel out the magwell just to be a little bit more like, this is a Glock 45 frame, so I might bevel out the magwell in the front just to be a little bit more accepting to new magazines. But from the factory, it's generous enough already to be useful, so you don't need to do too much. So I don't feel the desire to really go hog wild in there since it's already so good from the factory. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching.